If you've ever stood in front of your refrigerator, holding a slice of cheese in your hand, you've probably never thought that such a small act could be shaping your future health. That what melts on your tongue today may, over time, weigh heavily on your heart, your brain, your joints. But for those of us over 60, the foods we once enjoyed with ease no longer pass through the body without consequence. And cheese, in all its creamy, comforting glory, is one of the most misunderstood. What if I told you there are cheeses that can quietly protect your bones, calm your blood vessels, even nourish your mind, and others that, slice by slice, stealthily harden your arteries, disrupt your digestion, and ignite a slow-burning flame of inflammation across your body? It's not a warning born of fear, but of knowledge, a quiet truth echoed in clinical journals, whispered by doctors behind closed doors, and witnessed by countless seniors walking into my clinic each year with swelling legs, foggy thoughts, and creeping fatigue, never suspecting the role that tiny wedges and spreads might be playing. Let's begin where few do, by remembering that cheese is not one thing. It is hundreds of things. It is tradition, culture, chemistry, fermentation, salt, fat, and microbes. It is both healer and hazard, depending entirely on what's inside, and who is eating it. For the aging body, one that is beautifully wise but metabolically slower, with more fragile arteries and a digestive tract that no longer processes dairy as it did decades ago, every bite carries a different weight. Consider mozzarella. The kind that doesn't come in a resealable plastic bag, but the fresh, soft, pure version, mozzarella di bufala, pulled gently from buffalo milk with care and integrity. This cheese, light in sodium and gentle on the stomach, delivers more than flavor. It offers living peptides, anti-inflammatory fatty acids, and a calcium-to-salt ratio that quietly supports your bones without burdening your heart. I recall a patient, Maria, 67, who came to me tired and achy, convinced her arthritis was just an inevitable part of aging. She had been eating processed cheese snacks each afternoon for years. I suggested a change, not to eliminate cheese, but to replace it. Within months of switching to fresh mozzarella and reducing her sodium intake, she returned with brighter skin, improved joint mobility, and a renewed sense of ease in her body. That's not magic. That's medicine, disguised as food. Mozzarella does something even more profound. It maintains bioactive peptides, compounds formed during fermentation that can lower blood pressure. It contains conjugated linoleic acid, which helps your body regulate fat metabolism and calm chronic inflammation, two cornerstones of healthy aging. When paired with whole, living foods, fresh tomatoes, olive oil, basil, this cheese becomes more than a dish. It becomes a therapy. It's a cheese your gut doesn't fear and your heart doesn't fight. And that alone makes it worth cherishing. But mozzarella isn't the only quiet protector. Feta, sharp, briny, and often underestimated, is another. Made from sheep's milk or a blend with goat, feta carries within it a different protein structure, more digestible, less inflammatory. It contains fewer lactose molecules, making it less taxing on an aging gut. And its fermentation gives rise to probiotics, those microscopic allies that help restore balance in the intestinal terrain, where immune health, hormone signaling, and mood regulation are born. The truth is, after 60, your microbiome, the bacteria in your gut, often begins to shrink in diversity. Medications, stress, and a narrowing diet chip away at it silently. And without a strong microbiome, digestion slows, inflammation rises, and fatigue deepens. A modest crumble of feta on greens, in lentils, or over roasted vegetables can be a powerful step in restoring that inner ecosystem. Even its saltiness can be managed. Rinsing feta before eating can reduce sodium by nearly 30%, something I often recommend for my hypertensive patients who still crave flavor without danger. And then comes Swiss cheese. A cheese with holes, yes, but inside those holes lie secrets few speak of. Swiss cheese, particularly the authentic kind made from raw or cultured milk, is rich in propionibacterium, bacteria that not only ferment the cheese but also support immune strength in older adults. And perhaps more strikingly, Swiss cheese is one of the few sources of vitamin K2, a nutrient that tells calcium to go to the bones and stay away from the arteries. A tiny instruction with massive consequences. Do you realize what this means? In a world where calcification of arteries leads to heart attacks and strokes, and where osteoporosis silently robs millions of their independence, this one vitamin, delivered from a wedge of well-aged Swiss, can be the difference between strength and fracture, between flexibility and fatigue. Swiss is low in sodium, almost shockingly so, at just 54 milligrams per ounce. It carries almost no lactose, making it friendlier to aging guts. And its high B12 content supports memory, cognition, and the energy that so many feel slipping away but struggle to explain. Even its fermentation process contributes to its digestibility. The very holes that make children laugh are formed by carbon dioxide released during bacterial activity. That activity, paradoxically, makes the cheese easier for your aging gut to handle. But among them all, perhaps the greatest gift to older bodies is goat cheese. Tangy, creamy, nutrient-dense. It digests easily, thanks to its unique fat structure, short and medium-chain triglycerides that are more quickly absorbed and used as energy, rather than stored as stubborn belly fat. In an age where metabolism slows, this matters. Goat cheese contains less casein, the protein many adults react to, and is richer in selenium and zinc, vital for thyroid health, immunity, and tissue repair. Its probiotics soothe the gut, while its omega-3 content nourishes the brain. Some studies even suggest that regular intake of goat cheese may slow cognitive decline. It's not hype, it's the beginning of a medical shift toward viewing food not just as nutrition, but as precision medicine. I've seen patients, once reliant on supplements, find in goat cheese a quiet restoration. Not a cure-all, but a companion to their healing. A nutrient-dense food that doesn't demand much, but gives plenty. And now, as we step away from the cheeses that heal, we must confront those that harm. But not all cheeses wear the face of health. Some are quiet saboteurs. They masquerade as harmless indulgences, evoke nostalgia from childhood lunches, or present themselves as creamy elegance. Yet for the aging body, these cheeses do more than just add flavor, they slowly erode the very systems we're trying to preserve. Let's begin with one that so many still believe is cheese: American cheese. It melts with perfection, stretches on grilled sandwiches, and reminds many of Sunday brunches and comfort food. But the truth is blunt, this isn't really cheese. It's a synthetic invention, a processed combination of emulsifiers, artificial colors, salt, and a fraction of real cheese shavings bound into a slice. One slice carries 15% of your daily sodium limit. Think about that. For a heart already working harder with age, for kidneys no longer filtering as efficiently, for arteries that are stiffer with time, this is not seasoning, it's stress. And worse, those same emulsifiers, used to give American cheese its unnatural smoothness, disrupt your gut microbiome. You don't see it. You don't feel it after one bite. But day after day, year after year, they weaken the good bacteria in your intestines, the bacteria responsible for regulating inflammation, producing neurotransmitters, and shielding your immune defenses. I remember Robert, a retired firefighter, who thought he was doing everything right: daily walks, no smoking, only a little cheese with lunch. But it was the wrong kind. 2 slices of American cheese daily, every day for years. When he came in with high blood pressure and dull digestive pain, we traced it not to sugar, but salt. Not to snacks, but his sandwich. His recovery began with awareness and the courage to change a habit he never thought was harmful. But American cheese is only the start. Blue cheese, often viewed as the gourmet darling, holds a darker truth. The marbled veins, striking and pungent, are actually living mold. Penicillium roqueforti. And while it can offer flavor complexity, it also delivers something far more dangerous to seniors: biogenic amines. These substances, tyramine and histamine in particular, accumulate in blue cheese as it ages. Young, healthy bodies break them down efficiently. But in older adults, with slower enzymatic activity, they linger. They don't announce themselves loudly. They come with dizziness, a red face, a thudding headache. Some call it aging. Others think it's the weather. In truth, it may be your cheese. A 2023 study in food chemistry showed a clear correlation between tyramine-rich cheeses and spikes in blood pressure, migraines, and even cardiac arrhythmias among adults over 60. Imagine eating a cheese plate, then hours later finding yourself disoriented in a waiting room, unsure why your heart is racing. And it doesn't stop at the nervous system. Blue cheese, especially the soft or unpasteurized kind, carries a heightened risk of Listeria monocytogenes, a bacteria that most young adults shrug off but that can be fatal for older individuals. Symptoms mimic fatigue, joint aches, or low-grade flu, but when left unchecked, it can invade the bloodstream or brain. That's not a rare case, that's real life. In seniors, listeria can cause meningitis, sepsis, and hospitalization. So when that blue cheese wedge on the party tray calls your name, remember, there are other ways to enjoy flavor without gambling with your heart, your brain, and your life. And then there's cream cheese. It whispers innocence. It's soft, spreadable, and slathered on morning bagels across millions of households. But beneath that silky texture lies a nutritional desert. High in saturated fat, low in protein, nearly devoid of fiber or micronutrients, it is, by all measures, a metabolic mismatch for the senior body. For someone already losing lean muscle mass, dealing with blood sugar swings, and trying to manage weight with a slower metabolism, cream cheese is not harmless. It is dense with calories but starved of substance. You feel full, but not fueled. Its texture also creates a more sinister risk. Its softness and moisture make it an ideal environment for bacterial growth. Listeria loves cream cheese. And every breakfast buffet where it sits unrefrigerated? A potential breeding ground. One spoon, one spread, and you could introduce a bacterial invader that doesn't just upset your stomach, but destabilizes your entire immune defense. Worse still are the sweetened versions: strawberry, honey walnut, or maple. These often contain added sugars, which spike insulin, inflame your blood vessels, and exacerbate belly fat accumulation. They also add to the sugar burden many seniors already face through juices, dressings, and medications, quietly pushing you closer to insulin resistance, weight gain, and fatigue. And then, there is the worst of them all: processed cheese spreads. They arrive in foil-wrapped triangles, squeezable jars, or plastic tubs. Marketed as fun, kid-friendly, easy to digest. But what they truly are is biochemical chaos. A cocktail of artificial stabilizers, preservatives like sodium phosphate, and hidden trans fats. For an older adult, especially one with kidney strain, this cheese is not food, it's a time bomb. Sodium phosphate, found abundantly in processed spreads, is a known stressor on the kidneys. And the kidneys, those silent organs, already endure more pressure with age. They filter waste more slowly, they regulate fluid less efficiently, and when phosphate levels are unnaturally high, they begin to calcify, literally hardening from within. This leads to faster aging of the arteries, increased risk of chronic kidney disease, and higher mortality. Yes, mortality from cheese spread. And these are not speculative claims. These are published in journals from the National Kidney Foundation, corroborated by nephrologists who see the aftermath in dialysis clinics across the world. The trans fats often present in cheaper cheese products? They're not just bad cholesterol triggers. They're inflammation bombs. They can interfere with memory, worsen insulin resistance, and increase the risk of Alzheimer's progression in vulnerable brains. Processed cheese spreads may look convenient. They may taste nostalgic. But they are neither food nor safe. For someone over 60, they are the nutritional equivalent of smoking a cigarette wrapped in foil. And it must be said, no cheese is worth your independence. Not when better choices exist. Not when a different cheese, chosen wisely, can help preserve your energy, your clarity, your ability to walk unaided, to hug your grandchildren, to enjoy your years instead of merely enduring them. If you're over 60, this isn't just about cheese. It's about a body that has served you through decades of storms and sunshine. A body that has survived heartbreak, labor, raising families, long days, and sleepless nights. It's about respect. And now, more than ever, your body is asking for that respect in return. Because aging is not defeat. It is not decay. It is a time when your choices become sharper, more meaningful. Every bite you take sends a message to your cells, to build or to break. To calm inflammation or to feed it. To strengthen the bones or slowly thin them. And cheese, for all its charm, holds the power to whisper in both directions. When you choose mozzarella, you are choosing a food that understands your heart's fragility, your bones' needs, your joints' pain. When you choose goat cheese, you're feeding your gut the microbes it's been begging for, rebuilding defenses weakened by years of stress and pills. When you crumble feta, you're choosing simplicity over salt. When you slice Swiss, you're sending vitamin K2 to the places calcium belongs: your spine, your hips, your confidence. But when you reach for processed cheese spread, you're telling your kidneys to work harder than they should. When you slather cream cheese, you're hiding empty fat under the illusion of lightness. When you cut into blue cheese, you're gambling with your blood vessels. And when you unwrap American cheese, you're unwrapping not nourishment but convenience dressed as food. Your body knows the difference. It remembers. It remembers every silent inflammation that swelled your joints. Every morning stiffness you shrugged off as just age. Every moment of brain fog that came not from lack of sleep but from subtle biochemical imbalances caused by what you put on your plate. And here's the truth I wish more people would say. It's not too late. You could be 63, 73, even 83. You can start now. The body may slow, but it still listens. It still repairs. It still hopes you'll give it the raw materials it needs to heal. And food is the most accessible medicine you will ever have. One of my patients, Eleanor, 84 years old, once told me, "I can't control much these days. But I can control what I eat. And that makes me feel powerful." That's it, right there. Power, after 60, doesn't come from lifting weights or taking pills. It comes from claiming your role as a guardian of your own health. It comes from asking questions, reading labels, choosing what goes into your mouth with the same care you give to your grandchildren. So next time you open the fridge, I want you to pause. Not with guilt, not with shame, but with intention. Ask yourself, will this food love me back? Because mozzarella will. Goat cheese will. Swiss and feta will. American cheese? It won't. Processed spreads won't. Cream cheese will fake affection while undermining your immune system. Blue cheese may smile with sophistication, but behind that smile is a risk your body no longer tolerates easily. And to the caregivers watching this, sons, daughters, partners, grandchildren, you are the front line. If you cook, if you shop, if you help someone navigate their meals, then this message is yours too. Your choices ripple outward. You are shaping their strength, their memory, their dignity, one plate at a time. We don't always talk about food like this. We talk about calories. We talk about diets. But rarely do we talk about food as memory preservation, as inflammation control, as joint medicine, as emotional resilience. But that is what cheese can be if chosen wisely. In my years of practice, I've seen seniors lose mobility not from major trauma but from slow, chronic erosion. I've seen people age 10 years in one because of inflammation fed daily through the wrong foods. I've seen others, who began paying attention in their 60s, walk into their 80s with clarity, confidence, and strength. The difference wasn't luck. It was awareness. And consistency. So here is what I leave you with. Open your refrigerator not with habit, but with hope. Let go of the idea that food is only about fullness. See it as what it truly is: information, instruction, chemistry. An invisible language your body understands better than any doctor, any machine, any pill. Eat to protect your legs so they carry you without pain. Eat to protect your heart so it beats with rhythm and pride. Eat to protect your brain so you can remember the names, the stories, the laughter. Eat to protect your bones so they stand tall beneath you, not bow, not break. And yes, you can still enjoy food. Deeply. Joyfully. Even cheese. But now you know which ones will walk beside you and which ones will leave you behind. You've been warned. Not to scare you, but to awaken you. To remind you of the power you still hold. Because no matter what number is printed on your birthday card, your body is still listening. And it is asking you, softly, daily. Please, feed me with care.